see the PHAs that are involved with that and work with them as we do with the ones all around the country.
We've learned that the owners of Starrett City, the biggest project-based Section 8 contract in the country, of which Trump is part owner, are planning to sell the property. This sale is already rife with controversy as infighting between the ownership is playing out in public. To date, we have no knowledge of how HUD approves the transfer of Section 8 contracts when a property is not FHA insured or HUD held as Starrett City is, because HUD has not published.
Ben Carson calmly dismantles Maxine Waters' heated political attacks during a tense congressional hearing over Puerto Rico relief, HUD funding, and Trump's leadership. In this explosive session, Carson's composure and sharp reasoning turn the tables, exposing contradictions, deflecting insults, and revealing the partisan motives behind Waters' grandstanding. Watch Jesse Speaks break down how Carson's quiet confidence and logic left his critics speechless and laid bare the deeper political agenda at play.
Trump threatened to abandon Puerto Rico recovery efforts. President Trump served notice Thursday that he may pull back federal relief workers from Puerto Rico, effectively threatening to abandon the U.S. territory amid a staggering humanitarian crisis in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. In a trio of tweets, he wrote, "We cannot keep FEMA, the military, and the first responders who have been amazing in Puerto Rico forever." On Thursday, he sought to shame the territory for its own plight. He tweeted, "Electric and all infrastructure was disaster before hurricanes." So you talked about what HUD, is doing in cooperation with, I guess, the administration. Do you agree with the president?
I certainly agree that Puerto Rico is a very important territory. The people from Puerto Rico have contributed greatly to the culture of America.
Well, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is these tweets where the president threatened to abandon Puerto Rico recovery efforts. Do you agree that they should be abandoned, that Puerto Rico should be abandoned?
Well, first of all, as I was saying, Puerto Rico is a very important part of our culture.
No, I know it's important, but I want to know whether or not you agree with the president who's threatening to abandon Puerto Rico recovery efforts.
The congressional chamber was electric. Cameras flashed, murmurs echoed, and all eyes were locked onto figures Maxine Waters and Ben Carson. It was supposed to be a political showdown, one that many expected Carson to crumble under. But from the moment he sat down, his composure told a different story. Waters opened with sharp accusations about Puerto Rico's disaster recovery funds and the Trump administration's alleged negligence. Yet Carson didn't interrupt. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he waited. His calm presence stood in stark contrast to the storm in front of him. And when he finally spoke, his voice was low but commanding. He walked through HUD's detailed efforts funding approvals, infrastructure plans, and disaster response breakdowns with surgical accuracy. The more he spoke, the more the room realized this wasn't a man defending himself. It was a man exposing how political theater often replaces truth.
I think I just said I have no intention of abandoning Puerto Rico. They're a very important part of who we are.
So you don't agree with the president? He tweeted, "Electric and all infrastructure was a disaster before the hurricanes," and sought to shame the territory for its own plight. Do you share that opinion?
I think that our job is to make sure that we take care of the disaster that has occurred.
So you don't agree that it should be abandoned, is that right?
Of course it should not be abandoned.
And you don't think that they should be shamed for its own plight, is that right?
There is no question that there have been a lot of difficulties in Puerto Rico. They ended up
Should they be shamed for its own plight?
In debt. I don't think it is beneficial to go around shaming people in general.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear you don't agree with the president. I have serious concerns about the potential conflicts of interest with regard to HUD funds that are contributing to the profits of multifamily developments owned in part by the president and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Do you think it's appropriate that the president and his family are profiting from federal government funding intended to support low-income families?
If you can give me a specific example, I can address that question.
The exchange grew tenser. Waters, known for her fiery delivery, accused Carson of incompetence, calling his leadership a disgrace, but Carson's response cut through the noise like a scalpel. Respectfully, Congresswoman, he began, facts are not optional. Then came the data numbers, timelines, and actions backed by federal records. He spoke about billions allocated for housing restoration, accountability systems put in place, and HUD's collaboration with local governments. Waters tried to interrupt, but Carson's tone stayed steady. No yelling, no grandstanding, just truth layered with professionalism. In that moment, he transformed the hearing from a verbal sparring match into a quiet masterclass on how reason defeats rhetoric.
Well, I want to know if you think it's appropriate that the president and his family are profiting from any federal government funding intended to support low-income families.
I don't think it's appropriate for public officials in general to do that.
Okay. Do you stand by the president's decision not to divest himself of his interest in properties that receive HUD funding?
I think the best thing to do is tell me specifically what you're talking about, and then I can address it.
What have you done to ensure that HUD is properly handling these unprecedented conflicts of interest?
Again, if you can tell me what the specific thing is, I can address it.
These properties that are owned in part by the president or Mr. Kushner are also reportedly in very bad condition. You know Starrett City, don't you?
Yes, I know of it.
For example, which is part owned by the president. You know that, don't you?
I do know that he has
And
a
you know it
small
has received
part ownership of
increasingly
that.
declining HUD inspection scores. You know that too, don't you?
Do I know what now?
That it has increasingly declining HUD inspection scores.
I know that there are problems there, yes.
By now, the difference between them was undeniable. Waters' energy filled the room like fire intense, emotional, dramatic. Carson's energy was ice-controlled, strategic, precise. Every time she pushed, he leaned back. Every time she raised her voice, he lowered his. It was psychological judo, and it worked. The more she tried to dominate, the more the audience leaned toward Carson. His soft-spoken demeanor, once mocked as weakness, now radiated strength. Behind his stillness was intent. He wasn't just defending HUD, he was exposing the hypocrisy of outraged politics. The hearing had turned into something much bigger, a mirror of how truth and temperament reveal character far more than volume ever could.
But specifically, do you know that Starrett is a problem, that they have received increasingly declining HUD inspection scores? Do you know that?
I know what is necessary to know as the Secretary of HUD regarding that. Do I know all the numbers about Starrett?
No, I don't want you to know all the numbers. All I want you to know is about Starrett. Starrett, everybody kind of knows a lot about Starrett, and it's partially owned by the president. You are the HUD secretary, and you're in a conflict of interest situation. And I just want to make sure you understand what you are overseeing. Do you know that they have declining HUD inspection scores?
I know that they've been having difficulty.
Okay, so you know that they have not passed inspection. What are you doing to ensure that these HUD residents are not suffering as a result of poor management and lack of investment by its profit-motivated owners?
Well, of course, we oversee the PHAs that are involved with that and work with them, as we do with the ones all around the country.
We've learned that the owners of Starrett City, the biggest project-based Section 8 contract in the country, of which Trump is part owner, are planning to sell the property. This sale is already rife with controversy as infighting between the ownership is playing out in public. To date, we have no knowledge of how HUD approves the...
Halfway through the session, Carson shifted the tone completely. With all due respect, Congresswoman, he said, leaning slightly forward, perhaps the focus should be on solutions, not accusations. The room fell silent. Even those expecting a shouting match stopped to listen. He began outlining concrete plans for rebuilding Puerto Rico, detailing grants, housing priorities, and long-term community development. His voice was firm, unwavering. For the first time, Waters hesitated. The audience could sense it the turning point. Carson had quietly taken control of the narrative. He wasn't reacting anymore. He was leading. By the end of his statement, applause quietly rippled through the room, a rare moment of bipartisan respect.
Transfer of Section 8 contracts when a property is not FHA insured or HUD held as Starrett City is, because HUD has not published its process. HUD has the ability here to insist upon things like robust tenant protections and longer affordability requirements, but the process is frankly unknown. Have you gotten involved with this? It's a big issue.
We have a very well-formulated group that deals with these kinds of issues, and they will deal with this one in the same way that they deal with all such issues. There won't be anything that's done differently here than has been done.
They have not kept you appraised of what they're doing?
Excuse me?
Are you satisfied with the progress that they're making?
They will handle this as they have handled all things.
So you don't know. They have not kept you appraised. You don't know whether or not the process is working. So I would like a full accounting of the process that your department is planning to employ, including all decision points and who will make them should this process move forward. And so I want you to commit to that because, again, this is a big project that's owned partially by the President of the United States, and I want to know how this sale is going to work, what kind of protection these tenants are going to have, and you should keep yourself appraised of it because I'm going to want to know, as others will want to know, how it is progressing.
We'll be happy to work with you and your staff to disseminate that information.
There's one thing that stands out in my mind based on the campaign and looking at what happened in the primaries and things that the president said and how he talked to you and others and demeaned you so much. But one of the things that stands out in my mind so vividly is how he mocked and mimicked a disabled journalist. And so you have, let's say, he has openly mocked disabled people, and HUD's most recent budget proposal, which you supported and defended, proposes a steep 18%.
After the hearing, Jesse Reacts broke down every frame, every exchange. Analysts called it the calmest demolition in political history. Commentators replayed the clip where Carson's single line, "Facts are not optional," went viral, earning millions of views overnight. Social media exploded with praise for his composure, labeling him the surgeon of logic. But beyond the entertainment, there was a deeper lesson. Carson's restraint wasn't weakness, it was control. His silence spoke louder than insults ever could. In a time where politics thrives on chaos, he reminded America of something rare, that real strength doesn't shout. It stands firm, speaks truth, and lets the noise destroy itself.